I can watch him pitch when he pitches at other times. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be when it's against the Padres. So I think um the survey that you take is fair. Like, this helps the Padres in their postseason aspirations, and that has to be the thing that matters utmost.
Man, I'm telling you, what will be the death of me, I kid you not, which is so ridiculous, is this YouTube stream. It will truly be the death of me. If I could figure this thing out, figuring out our YouTube. It's like the hardest thing in the world for some reason. Why I can't do this, Brent, is beyond me. And Jim's going to yell at me the next time he...
The problem is, too, John, is you're just validating Jim's existence.
100%. Like, this is the reason why, and now I'm trying to figure it out. This is so ridiculous.
Nope, I like what you're doing, though. You're learning on the fly. Like, this is real-time growth, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we are watching
so
John Schaefer grow as a human being in real time, which I think we should all appreciate and have some understanding about, even though he probably should have figured this out with the last 2.5 years that he's been doing this
Look
show.
at this. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the show, and we're going to do it like this. I think you can hear if you're watching on YouTube. I'm more concerned about our listeners right now on radio. Let's hear from Mike Schild as we continue this conversation. Padres and Pirates will play game one of their series coming up in about 30 or so minutes. I do want to get back into that Paul Skeens conversation because I was only half paying attention, trying to deal with this firestorm over here as well. But let's hear from Mike Schild because there was an update on Joe Musgrove. We may see him on this road trip that kind of came out of nowhere. And Ha-Seong Kim is out of the lineup here today for the Padres as well. Here's why from Mike Schild.
Talk to Joe a little bit. Any update on where he is, his timeline, progression, and what your expectation is when we might see him?
Yeah, I mean, the good news about Joe is he came out of a really good outing, day before yesterday, really feeling good. So we expect that there's a really high probability he's going to start for us his next time out, and we'll just determine what that day looks like.
Are you thinking this road trip? Or...
This road trip.
Okay, so
it will not be this series.
What's going on with Ha-Seong?
Still trying to find out. He came in today, had a day off, clearly, had some days off. Felt great leaving, the last day on Sunday. Woke up yesterday with some soreness in his right trap, and we're evaluating it right now. And we want to make sure we're ahead of it. And it's going to require Wadey to get in there today, which will be a good opportunity for him.
All right, that was Mike Schild again with the latest on Ha-Seong Kim. So he's got tricep soreness. The Joe Musgrove thing is something, Jonathan, we've talked about obviously for kind of weeks on end, not counting on him necessarily in the second half of the year, but maybe now you're starting to count on him in the second half of the year. He could be pitching this weekend against the Miami Marlins. They've added some starting pitching with Martin Perez, but we're talking about Joe Musgrove, right? $100 million pitcher. Has obviously had some big moments for the Padres over the course of his career, and we'll see if he can benefit this team in the second half of the year returning this weekend.
Yeah, I think at this point, John, it is all hands on deck, and it felt like Ha-Seong Kim, I wouldn't say offensive liability, but he wasn't really adding a ton. And much like when Xander Bogaerts went down, right? It was which version of Xander Bogaerts are we going to see when he comes back? And the version that we've gotten has been phenomenal. This is the version of Xander Bogaerts that we have wanted for the last 2 years he's been on this team. I'm not saying that Ha-Seong Kim is going to come back and be this revelation, but maybe he needs a second to kind of take himself out of the equation, hit the reset button, because regardless, I think the Padres will be okay. And the focus, like you said, is on the fact that Joe Musgrove should be back at some point during that Miami series.
Yeah, so again, from Schild, if you missed it, there's a high probability Joe Musgrove returns this weekend in Miami, and Ha-Seong Kim has been scratched because of, again, triceps. So something hopefully that is not something that bothers him more than for today or for a short period of time, but I guess we'll learn more in the hours ahead. You were talking about Paul Skeens, right? Padres won't face Skeens. Just in general with this series, this is a series where you can do what you did to the Nationals, which is you play well, you can completely bury Pittsburgh. You can take all hope away from the Pirates. The unfortunate part of that conversation is that they can stay in this thing by playing good baseball over the next 3 days. It's as simple as that. I think if the Pirates win 2 out of 3, they believe they're certainly still in the wild card conversation. Worst case scenario, they sweep this series and the Pirates are more than in it. But if you can take 2 out of 3, if you can sweep the series, I mean, truthfully, if the Padres leave Pittsburgh winning 2 out of 3 or more, now you haven't completely buried them because they're coming to your place in a week, but you've put yourself in a position where you should feel pretty good about being clear of Pittsburgh in that race, right? You get 4.5 up, you get 5.5 up, you're down to 40-something games remaining in the year. You just got to take care of your own business. You can't worry about a team that's 4 or 5 games behind you. If you do, you win a series this week in Pittsburgh.
Well, look at where the NL West is right now. I mean, you have the Diamondbacks. They aren't just creeping up. They're right there right now, tied for that second spot, 4.5 games back of the Dodgers. And by the way, I'm not saying that the Giants are a threat right now, but they could be, considering the fact that they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're streaking. They're a couple of games back, sitting at 500 right now. So now is the time where you really have to focus on separating yourself. And the Pirates are a team. I think maybe a month ago we look at the Pirates and we're like, yeah, they're not contenders, but they see themselves as contenders, at least for the wild card, which means you're going over there to a confident baseball team that's been playing really well at home. I know the weather is what the weather is, but that's like sort of a caveat that's over here. So I would say that if you can get out of Pittsburgh winning 2 of 3 or all 3 games, like you said, it's not like you're playing like a team that's down in the dumps. It's not like you're playing a team like the Cubs or you're going like to Oakland A's or something. Like you could be proud of yourself and feel confident about yourself having come out of that series winning 2 of 3 or all 3.
So, it's funny because as you've heard me say before, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this before, Jonathan or Brent. Have I mentioned this before? I worked in minor league baseball. I spent some time in minor league baseball.
Wait. Hold the phone.
When I was younger. And the reason I mention it is when I worked in minor league baseball, you obsess over the weather. You just reference the fact that, you can't control it. I think there's thunderstorms in Western Pennsylvania, which should come as no surprise, in the month of August, right? In the summertime, you're going to get thunderstorms in the east. And right now it's clear, but there's weather to the west of Pittsburgh and it might roll in. And if you start the issue is always this. When people say, well, who cares, right? If they play the game, they play the game. If it's rained out, it's rained out. That's fair. And I agree with that general assessment. The reason baseball teams obsess over it is the worst possible scenario is this. You start a game, it starts raining, and you lose your starting pitcher in the process. You're talking about throwing a Cy Young candidate right now in Dylan Cease, who in his last 5 starts has been utterly brilliant, one of the best pitchers in the sport. You can't afford to, and really no team can, but you can't afford to throw your ace and then all of a sudden it's raining and he sits for 90 minutes. Now, this actually happened, I think, the day of his no-hitter. There was rain at the onset of that game. Maybe after a half inning, he never threw. They waited 90 minutes. He ends up appearing in the game and throwing a no-hitter. That's absurdity. That's utterly ridiculous. But that's something I'm thinking about here tonight, that thunderstorms in Western Pennsylvania, Padres are playing well. If the game's rained out, it's rained out. If the game's 3 hours delayed, it's 3 hours delayed. The worst scenario is you start a game, it's sunny, 22 minutes into the game, Dylan Cease is throwing an inning. The tarp's on the field for 2 hours and say, we can't put Dylan Cease back in the mound. You can't warm up, then get cooled down for 2 hours and then ramp back up. So it's one of those things that you don't deal with this in other sports. We don't talk about this in the NHL or the NBA or the NFL. They just play through it unless there's lightning or college football. But a night like tonight, you're out east, you're playing outside, you're thinking about the weather because it's summertime in the east, and I guess you're always thinking about the weather.
So are you saying that you feel like the extenuating circumstances don't favor the Padres, at least for tonight's game?
No, not at all. I'm saying that I always fear the unknown when it comes to like the worst scenario. Like when everything's going perfectly, when you're 11-3 since the All-Star break, best record in baseball, by the way, and you're going to start a 6-game road trip where you're going to be favored in 4 or 5 of these games. You're going to Pittsburgh and Miami. Yeah, Pittsburgh's been a great story, but like you said, they're not pitching Paul Skeens. And then Miami, the wheels have fallen off the track, so to speak. You're going to be favored. You just want it to go smoothly. Like, I don't need the double header. I don't need the rain delay after 1 inning that forces Dylan Cease out of the game. You just want it to go
smoothly. You want everything to go the way that it has been going for this team that's led them to success.
100%. So we'll react to what's going on with the weather in Western Pennsylvania as we lead you up to Pirates and Padres Game 1 from PNC Park, a spectacular ballpark in Western Pennsylvania. And speaking of the Padres, we found out within the last 24 hours, they will raise season ticket prices again for 2025. The reasoning behind it, and why it makes sense. 877-767-4760 if you want to weigh in on that. Plus, you can text us 70470. Start it with team. It's Jon and Jim. J-Riff in for Jim on Jon and Jim. All right, Dale Sean Staley with San Diego State is going to join us coming up at 3:30. He is a San Diego State transfer from Northern Iowa. Safety will join us coming up in about 10 minutes. John and Jim with you without Jim.
Woohoo!
Oh, man, what a show this is. So, okay, let me take people behind the curtains for a moment.
Little BTS.
I need to take people behind the curtains. Jim is truly, literally, actually in Switzerland. He's never been to Europe in his life. It's 9 hours later. It might be 10. I think it's
12:20
1:20
in the morning.
Is it 12:20 or 1:20, Jay?
12:20.
It's 12:20. It's 12:20. Okay. And he's in the chat and watching the show because he knows we're such idiots that we can't figure out the layout of this damn show on YouTube. And he's trying to fix it. He truly thinks there's something wrong with me, which is accurate. I think that's fair and reasonable. So he's trying to get it fit. I mean, this is unbelievable is my point. We had these issues yesterday. Nobody could hear
especially
us.
after he went over it with you for like an hour before he
I know,
left.
I feel bad. And
I was
feel like an
joking. Did he
idiot.
actually do that? Or did he just go to Switzerland and then just go, you got this?
Well, he knew. I mean, I've never had these issues. So I don't know if here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to work. Okay, that's the setup we're going to have right now. All right, so Dale Sean Staley is going to join us coming up at 3:30. Aztec Safety. We'll talk with him. Fall camp underway. They're about 3.5 weeks out from the opener against Texas A&M Commerce. We're broadcasting live from FanFest, by the way. Me and Jay Riff on Saturday from 3 to 5. We'll have more for you on that as the week continues. This is something we don't have a ton of time on it, Jay Riff. We can touch on it coming up as well. But we learned, and this is not something that's new, if you've been a Padres season ticket holder over recent years, all this success in terms of marketability and the big contracts and the payroll, they've raised ticket prices, right? This has been routine. I don't have the data in front of me, but over the last 3 or 4 years, they've raised ticket prices. Some of those years, double-digit percentages. Now, they announced yesterday to their season ticket members, they're raising prices. It's a moderate increase. The average increase is 3%. Some would say, well, it's like inflation, although inflation is probably greater than 3%. Here's what I would say on it, and Jared, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. This you want to win, you want to be relevant, you want to overcome quote unquote larger markets, you want to compete, you want to win at the highest level. And I get it, they haven't won a World Series, they haven't been to a World Series since 1998, but they have been highly relevant. And I know the payrolls come down, but they've also done stuff, obviously, to the ballpark over the years as well. I think it's kind of the cost of doing business. It's not my money. Listen, so it impacts everyone differently. I'm not saying, hey, just go spend more money. We all have budgets. We all have, families, kids, things to worry about, bills to pay. But in college athletics, you want to have the best football team, fund the NIL. You want to have the best baseball team, you're going to have, arguably, in baseball, to be one of the better baseball teams. So I'm not saying I love it, but I am saying I kind of understand it. And the Padres in 2025, J-Riff, will raise ticket prices on average 3% for season ticket members.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at it in the grand scheme of things, it could be way worse. Eric Greupner told Kevin Acee that he felt like it wasn't the right time to continue to take a large increase year over year in ticket prices. And if you want to look at, you mentioned the previous seasons, 20% increase in 22, 18% increase in 23.
Okay.
And a 9% increase in 24. So really, this is a very marginal increase compared to the last 3 seasons, including the 20% in 22. Nobody really wants to have to pay more, but they're also expecting an increase in season tickets. They have like 22,000 season tickets out there right now. I think they're expecting more than that. So, I mean, look, it's cost and demand, right? Or supply and demand. Like you and I, and a lot of you out there probably don't love the idea of raising prices in general, but there's a demand for it and people are paying for it. And if you're a baseball team who's trying to stay competitive while also offering an amazing ballpark experience, like you said, this is sort of the cost of doing business. So as long as there's a demand for it, I mean, they can and probably will keep doing it.
My thing is, you don't get new additions like Gallagher Square and then get cheaper ticket prices. When you get additions, which is pretty much, they added a concert venue, for crying out loud, to the stadium, ticket prices are going to go up. When you set multiple records for, biggest attendance crowd in your team's history in a season, that's going to make ticket prices go up. When you hit a decent level of success and ticket sales and additions, it's going to make the prices go up. It's not going to go down. It's like Alabama football. You think their ticket prices go down every year when they go to the national? No, they go up every year because the better they are, the more it's going to cost.
Yeah, well, to that point, and here's where like sometimes it's a tough conversation. And again, it's easy. That's why I'm not saying like deal with it. I'm not going to like say it in that manner. Like, you want to win, you're going to have to spend more. No, I understand it. At some point, you're pricing too many people out. There's always going to be people for a top 1%, but the top 1% isn't going to fill 45,000 seats every single night. You have to have ticket prices that are reasonable for a wide swath of San Diegans, right? You can't appease everyone. They're not going to be $4 anymore. It's not 1990, but they can't all be $4,000 or $400. You're going to have to find a way to get people in the ballpark. With all that being said, this is big business. And to truly win at a high level, I'm not saying it's directly correlated. We'll talk more about this later in the hour. It's not directly correlated. You don't spend $300 million and win a World Series. It's possible. And it's not like you spend $30 million and automatically don't win a World Series, although it's very hard to win when you spend like that. I'm just saying you got to utilize all revenue streams if you're the San Diego Padres to consistently win. So I understand it. I'm not saying I love it. It's our money. And now we got to now make concessions elsewhere because we're going to Petco Park. But again, I don't love it, but I'm going to take them at their word. They're trying to win at a high level. And because of that, they got to make tough decisions and they got to increase revenue. We'll talk more about it later this hour. Dale Sean Staley, San Diego State junior safety, a transfer from Northern Iowa. Year one for Sean Lewis. His thoughts on week one of fall camp. Will join us next on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Caltrans. The Padres start their series with the Pirates in about 10 minutes. First pitch is around 3:40. It's going to be Dylan Cease going for the Padres and Bailey Falter for the Pirates. In other baseball news, the White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 1988 Baltimore Orioles. The NL record is held by the 1961 Phillies, who lost 23 straight. In NFL news, the Patriots and Browns have been in contact with the 49ers about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. The Steelers are also showing interest in Aiyuk, according to ESPN. And Charles Barkley won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT, even if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced on Tuesday that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. Attention, California drivers. The kids of Caltrans workers count on you to keep their loved ones safe. So when you see a highway work zone, please slow down and pay attention. Remember, that's someone's loved one out there. Be work zone alert. This report is sponsored by Caltrans. The Padres start their series with the Pirates in about 10 minutes. First pitch is around 3:40. It's going to be Dylan Cease going for the Padres and Bailey Falter for the Pirates. In other baseball news, the White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 1988 Baltimore Orioles. The NL record is held by the 1961 Phillies, who lost 23 straight. In NFL news, the Patriots and Browns have been in contact with the 49ers about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. The Steelers are also showing interest in Aiyuk, according to ESPN. And Charles Barkley won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT, even if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced on Tuesday that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. Attention, California drivers. The kids of Caltrans workers count on you to keep their loved ones safe. So when you see a highway work zone, please slow down and pay attention. Remember, that's someone's loved one out there. Be work zone alert.
All right, San Diego State football returning to the Mesa Fan Fest Saturday, Snapdragon Stadium. We're just over 3 weeks out. Aztecs, Texas A&M Commerce. Our pleasure right now to be joined in the home of the Aztecs by Dale Sean Staley, Aztec junior safety. He was a freshman All-American at Northern Iowa playing FCS football. He's transferred from Northern Iowa, which is a place that I actually visited at one point, calling, I think, college basketball like 20 years ago. It was as cold as I've ever been. I kid you not. This is like the coldest place on earth, Northern Iowa. You go from Northern Iowa to San Diego State, sunny San Diego. First of all, Dale Sean, thanks for joining us. Isn't this kind of like a 180 going from Northern Iowa and those winters to San Diego? And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And yes, it is a 180. Coming from Iowa, we got high winds, windy area. When it's cold, the sun's not even. It'll be sunny out. You think it's going to be hot outside, it's cold. So, no, it's most definitely a 180. I love California. Love the weather out here.
Yeah, Sean, we know what you can do on the football field. Off the football field, when you're in San Diego, what are some California habits, if you will, that you've picked up?
So in California, I say like going to the beach. I be going to the beach every once in a while just to calm down, listen to the ocean waves. I also like to went hiking before to go see some of the views of the mountains and stuff. And start eating a lot of Mexican food. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I say those are some of the traits that I picked up.
Well, you've acclimated well. Dale Sean Staley with us right now on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. So what do you expect this adjustment to be like, going from FCS football? I mean, this is commonplace. There's a lot of players that go from FCS to FBS. What's the biggest difference, or what do you expect the biggest difference to be as you transition to FBS?
I don't feel like there's a difference at all. There's a lot of people that's in FCS that would be FBS players if they had the shot. I play against some great players, some great people that are in the league right now, like Benny Sapp the third. He plays for the Green Bay Packers. He had transferred from Minnesota to UNI, FBS to a FCS, and still made it. So, I feel like it doesn't really matter where you start. As long as you put your heart to it and just keep grinding, I feel like you're going to get a shot. So I feel like there wouldn't be no difference. Everybody ball players. There's ball players everywhere and all kinds of levels. So I feel like there's no difference.
What was the journey for you, Dale Sean, from starting at UNI to now at San Diego State?
The journey, like the transfer portal journey?
Yeah, like what was it about San Diego State that attracted you from a program like UNI?
I love the coaches. The coaches were all high energy, like Coach McGuirk and Coach CJ. Those guys, they basically made it feel like they was going to get me to the next level, and they felt like they could coach me there. They knew my old coach, Coach J.J. Johnson, at Kent State, and Coach J.J. was just telling me how good these guys are. They're going to push me. And so that's exactly what they're doing here, Coach CJ, for sure. And so just the connections that they had built with me, it was just like no other.
So when you were at Northern Iowa, and again, Dale Sean Staley is with us, Aztec junior safety, were you playing typically corner, or were you playing safety? And what do you expect to play here at San Diego State?
I was playing free safety at University of Northern Iowa all my years since I got there. Started off in the boundary, and they put me in the field my freshman year, and I've been in the field ever since. And out here, they got me playing the boundary, the rover safety. So I'm more down in the fit, and get more physical, and that's what I like.
So in this role here, the 4-2-5 specifically, you know, what are you transitioning from? Like you said, at UNI, you're moving now over to a boundary. What are your responsibilities? How does it change in this 4-2-5 defense?
I feel like it hasn't changed at all, but I say the edge rushes are for sure getting off there faster. But it hasn't. We was at a 4-3-4 at University of North Iowa, and our nickel was basically like a DB. He could play either way, so I'm kind of used to having 5 DBs out there on the field with us. And so, but I just say that at the nickel slide is much faster for sure because he's a pure DB, Deshaun McEwen. And so I would just say that like the defense out here, I feel like is more faster, which is a model aspect fast. So yeah.
Yeah, Sean, are there any moments that you were in at UNI that stick with you that you take as an extra source of motivation now that you're at San Diego State?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say the stats that I have put up, you know, of course, it just isn't me that's out there doing it. It's also out to my team. But the stats that I have put up, just look for the ball. You know, I like to get the ball. I'm a go-getter, and so I feel like that right there just gave me real motivation. Like I could actually play this level, and that's why I made the transition.
What has camp been like for you? Obviously, a lot of people, when they talk about Sean Lewis in San Diego State or just his time as a head coach or coordinator, is they play with such tempo. One of the quickest offenses, obviously, in America, which will impact the defense as well. What type of conditioning have you had to, you know, get into for yourself to get ready for what's to come here playing at this tempo?
The tempo, they do it at practice, you know. The offense, they go really fast, and whenever we have scrimmages, a team can compete. And so that right there is basically getting us ready for whenever we get to these fast games. And I feel like our guys probably do it the fastest like I've ever seen. Like they'll snap the ball and they'll already be down and ready. So like they're most definitely getting us ready for whenever it comes to the season. And that's why I like about our offense in the way that Coach Lewis did this. You know, our defense basically prepared for this because not a lot of teams will be prepared for our fast offense.
Yeah, Sean, when you were at UNI, there was one game, I think it was against Youngstown State last year, where you got to return a kickoff. Was that by design? And is there any chance we get to see you in a position like that again?
That right there was just all pure playing football. You know, you see the ball, go get the ball. The ball was kicked towards me. I was going ahead and scooped it up and try my best to get as deep down the field. Hopefully they put me there. Hopefully they see that. I'm on kickoff right now. And when they put our hand things out there, I hope they can see that I can actually get the ball. And I feel like that right there could most definitely, they most definitely see that. So, yeah, hopefully.
So, okay, but before you go, you're out of Kansas City, and I'm not sure if you grew up there or not, but I'm assuming you're a Chiefs fan. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Diehard Chiefs fan. Ever since Matt Castle, Jamal Charles, Ali Johnson, Larry Johnson is one of my favorite running backs. Like, yes, I am a diehard Chiefs fan. There's no bandwagon out here. I am a diehard Royals fan. I'm sorry.
All right.
But,
Well, that has been a good couple of years for you. Favorites again? I mean, are the Chiefs going to do this again in 2024?
Yeah. Say that again, sir.
Are the Chiefs going to win another one here this upcoming year?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. I'm sorry. The Red Sea is coming back to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sorry for all the football fans, San Francisco fans. I'm sorry, but yes, Mahomes is going to do his thing, and hopefully we get to see the Red Sea in Kansas City again.
Dale Sean Staley, appreciate you doing it. We're excited to have you on the Mesa. We're looking forward to, again, the opener against Texas A&M Commerce. Fan Fest is coming up on Saturday. It's good to have you out here in San Diego, and thanks for joining us today on San Diego Sports 760.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, great stuff. Dale Sean Staley, again, junior safety, transfer from Northern Iowa, or I want to say they play in the Unidome. Again, I called a basketball game there like 20 years ago. You have to play indoors in Cedar Rapids because it's negative temperatures in Cedar Rapids. We're not going to get a lot of negative temperature, I don't think, in San Diego. So it really, I mean, you talk about we mentioned it there, J-Riff, we're not kidding. Like Cedar Rapids to San Diego is about as big of a swing in weather in November as you're going to get in the country, probably. You're talking about like a 70-degree swing, potentially, maybe more.
Yeah, I don't blame him for making the jump. If he just said, "Yeah, I came to San Diego State because of weather, because they have a great football team," I wouldn't have blamed him. And then like the fact that there are also coaches who know him and who are gonna put him in the best possible position for him and this team to be successful. I mean, that helps a lot more than just like, "Oh yeah, the weather's cool. I'm gonna head down to San Diego and see what I can do down there." So seems like a great guy too. I really that little hands team thing. I really you could tell how much he wants it. I hope he gets an opportunity.
Yeah, again, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities probably, again, with the first, brand new staff, right? First year head coach here, not a first time head coach. About half of this roster is turned over between 2023 and 2024. So I do think there will be opportunities for players like, again, Dale Sean Staley, former All-American, freshman All-American at Northern Iowa. We'll take a timeout. On the other side, back to what we discussed there briefly on Padres ticket prices for 2025. We've got great giveaways for you today. In fact, why don't we do this? On the other side, we'll give away a pair of tickets to see Slightly Stupid, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 24th. Plus, we want to hear from you, Padres season ticket members. What's your reaction to season ticket pricing going up moderately, 3% in 2025? 70470, start it with team, or 877-767-4760, plus the giveaway. That's next on Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim back with you. J-Riff's in for Jim, who is in Switzerland on his way for Italy. He's had to troubleshoot the show for each of the last 2 days. So there's like one thing I actually need Jim for, and it's like everything other than the show. Social media, YouTube streaming, technology, like making this TV, J-Riff, in the studio where, you know what I mean? Like, he does all that stuff.
You know, everyone in Europe must think Jim's like the most important person in the world because he's
know,
just
he's working
on
at
his
2 in the
phone all the
morning.
time. And
Dude, you're on your honeymoon. I feel bad. I don't feel overly bad about it, but I do feel bad about
Well,
it.
so that's the thing is like, how does Erin feel that Jim's honeymoon time is being occupied by this show?
I think she's sleeping.
yeah, I was gonna say it's like 2 a.m. She's probably sleeping.
Yeah, I think the honeymoon has become Jim watching the stream and Aaron sleeping.
With the Padres in the background?
Probably. Yeah, I think that's basically what's played out. We touched on this. I got a very good point from someone that texted me that's listening. That's a loyal listener that said, hey, you know, another factor to consider is that the season ticket increase next year. That's 3%. Also, consider this. The Padres played 80 home games this year. They're playing 81 next year because they're not playing in Korea. When you add in an additional game, that's over 1%. Right. So like the price is going up 3%, but they've added over 1% of games. So the price is actually going up like another 1%, if that makes sense, because there were only 80 games this year. So yeah, the price is going up because you're playing 81 games next year at home. So you know what? I think in the end of the day, it's kind of like, I mean, a lot of our, like, think about it like this, like a lot of, you know, a lot of people that are listening to us. I mean, you hope to maybe you work a job for a year, you hope to get a couple percent raise. You don't always, you know what I mean? There's good economic times, you get a 3% raise. There's not great economic times, you get no raise. But like from a business perspective, like we go to the supermarket, J-Riff, milk was $2 and then it's $2.50. I mean, Padres tickets are $20 and then they're $22.50. That's just kind of life, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, life adjusts for inflation and we have to adjust because of all those circumstances. And I don't know. I also wonder, Jon, a part of it is like the resale value for season tickets on a game-to-game basis also goes up, right? Like, so if you're a season ticket holder and you don't make it to a game, well, now you can, like, the market value of your individual ticket that you want to give up for that game increases as well. So even like you're still recouping you're not recouping what you would lose, but you're recouping some of it back at a higher percentage as those tickets increase year by year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And again, it's like at the end of the day, I've said this so much over the years here, which is, okay, let's say, like, what do you prefer? You want reasonable pricing on ticketing, but you want to watch an average team or below average team? Or do you want to pay the premium for everything becoming a better experience, better entertainment, better product? Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
do you feel like the Padres have done a good job since they raised it 20% in 22 and 18%
of winning?
8%? Yeah, have they done a good enough job of allowing the increases to be justified by the ballpark experience and the play on the field?
I would say yes, and hear me out. Hear me out as to why. It's not about the direct correlation to wins and losses, because we can absolutely criticize their lack of success in 2023. It was a failure. And we'll see what happens in 2024. I think it's much more understandable in 2024, considering how they're playing right now. And they're trending towards the postseason, work to be done. And of course, in 2022, they made it to the National League Championship Series. My point isn't what are the results. My point is, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you truly using the additional revenue to put it into things that are necessary to win? And not just necessary to win. The truth is the ballpark's one of the best in baseball. They're different revenue streams. It's not like the money that they're getting from ticket holders all goes into Gallagher Square, or it's like, hey, we were going to spend $200 million on payroll this year, but we rebuilt Gallagher Square, so now we're spending $180. Payroll's payroll. Ballpark improvements are ballpark improvements. But like, I take Eric Grupner, AJ Preller, Peter Seidler before his untimely passing at their word that they really are doing more than most in an effort to win. Doesn't mean they will win. It's professional sports. It's hard to do that. But I'd prefer they go at it trying to sign players like Xander Bogaerts, trading for players like Dylan Cease, Luis Arraez, than going about their business like the Chicago White Sox or the Miami Marlins. It's like, we're in a large enough market, and we'll try to win when when it makes sense to win, but we're not committed year in and year out to field a team that we think can get to the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that different people, like we all are like this in life. All of us as individuals value things differently, right? And there probably are enough people out there to value the experience of the San Diego Padres, whatever that entails, whether it's the experience of the ballpark compounded with the play on the field, whether it's just the play on the field, whether it's just like love being at a baseball stadium with your friends or your family or whatever, or by yourself, because those people exist too, and we support them as well. Like, there are enough people that find enough value in this that they're okay with the price increase. Like, and that's okay. And then there are people out there that probably don't find that value with the price increase, so they don't renew their season tickets, or they're not inspired enough to go out, maybe do a mini package or something, and that's okay too. Like, it really just comes down to the individual and what do you value, and is this worth the value that you're getting from where you are, which is Petco Park, and what is happening on the field. And so, like, I think it's hard to speak for everybody because everybody has a different value system. But if you enjoy it, man, like, go enjoy it. Like, if you want to pay for it, go pay for it. If you don't want to pay for it, don't pay for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And again, like when you think about it from the prism of we're in San Diego, post Chargers, and the Padres are playing, they're getting a lion's share of attention, right? I mean, we talk, Jon and Jim, we spent a ton of time obviously talking San Diego State and as the home of the Aztecs. And I love doing it personally. But the truth is obviously that baseball's a long year. There's 200 games with, spring training and regular season and hopefully postseason. It's like you better do everything in your power to be overly relevant in the market when you're the only club among the big four, right? No NBA, no NHL, no NFL. There's that, like, I read an article years ago about like how the Padres post Chargers, it's a little bit of like a trailblazer effect in Portland. It's different. I have no idea how the Trailblazers are consumed in Portland. I don't know how they draw. I think they've had success, obviously, over the years. I mean, they're Portland's team. It's not like you're turning to their NHL team or their Major League Baseball team or their NFL team or whatever. I mean, obviously, there's like the Ducks. But in Portland, obviously, the Trailblazers are a big deal. In San Diego, the Padres are only a bigger deal in the absence of the Chargers. So to their credit, they've marketed the club really well. Now they just got to win. Like, it's like, you've marketed well. You're relevant. There's 45,000 people there. Your bobbleheads are great. Now you got to go win. And you got to win consistently. And that's the last part of this equation that hasn't yet come. It's come in bits and pieces. 2022 was a good year. It just was. Will they continue to get that? Will they be consistently a winner and in the postseason more often than not in the 2020s? We can't answer that today, but you're hopeful that that's the case. And I understand trying to increase revenue streams if that's your end-all be-all goal.
Yeah. I think that there's really not much more to be said than like there's a risk and a reward for this, right? Like, if the risk is that you're asking people to pay more out of pocket to attend this experience, the reward is that experience might be better than in years past, or it might continue to be elevated. And I think 22, like, they raised those prices before the 22 season. And then, like you said, the 22 season ended up being great. Like, we can't anticipate what's going to happen. But hopefully, like I said, like, if you value it enough, it's worth at least the initial investment. And then the ROI is greater because the organization is doing the right things and imposing the right strategies to maximize your value.
Jay Riff, appreciate it, my friend. You're going to be back tomorrow with me here on Jon and Jim from 3 to 4. Also back tomorrow, correct me if I'm wrong, midday matchup beginning at noon. And also
Fletch.
part of Big Rich TD and Fletch as well throughout the course of the afternoon. So thanks for doing it, man. We'll do it again tomorrow afternoon, all right?
Looking forward to it. Hopefully you can figure out some of this stuff by the time I'm back up tomorrow.
It's not happening.
All right, well, I'm excited for more controlled chaos, John.
Thank you, my friend. The wrap is on the other side. Call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see Slightly Stupid at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 24th. Caller 5, they're yours. 877-767-4760. 2 free tickets to see Slightly Stupid. North Island Credit Union Amphitheater August 24th. 877-767-4760. Caller 5, they are yours. The wrap is next.
This report is sponsored by Caltrans. This report is sponsored by Caltrans. The White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record with their 5-1 defeat to Oakland. Chicago is on the longest winning streak since the 1988 Baltimore Orioles. The NL record is held by the 61 Phillies, who lost 23 straight. In NFL news, there has been a few teams that have shown interest in 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. According to ESPN, the Patriots, Browns, and the Steelers have all been in contact with the 49ers about the wide receiver. Charles Barkley said he won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT even if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement he made in June during the NBA Finals. And the Padres and the Pirates are currently underway at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Right now, in the top of the second, it is no score. Attention, California drivers. The kids at Caltrans workers count on you to keep their loved ones safe. So when you see a highway work zone, please slow down and pay attention. Remember, that's someone's loved one out there. Be work zone alert. This report is sponsored by Caltrans. The White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record with their 5-1 defeat to Oakland. Chicago is on the longest winning streak since the 1988 Baltimore Orioles. The NL record is held by the 61 Phillies, who lost 23 straight. In NFL news, there has been a few teams that have shown interest in 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. According to ESPN, the Patriots, Browns, and the Steelers have all been in contact with the 49ers about the wide receiver. Charles Barkley said he won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT even if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement he made in June during the NBA Finals. And the Padres and the Pirates are currently underway at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Right now, in the top of the second, it is no score. Attention, California drivers. The kids at Caltrans workers count on you to keep their loved ones safe. So when you see a highway work zone, please slow down and pay attention. Remember, that's someone's loved one out there. Be work zone alert.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. My worst fears realized. If you listen to hour 1 of the show, I said the one thing you don't want if you're a Padres fan as you monitor the weather. And again, I spent 15 years in minor league baseball, and this is the thing you always think about, is the game starts, you know it's going to rain, they start the game anyway, and then the tarp goes on the field and you lose the starter. And what I mean by that, so the Padres and Pirates, Brent just had in his update, and hopefully people are making their way back over here to talk about this game now that the game is in a delay. Everyone knew it was going to rain. I have the same radar that they have in Pittsburgh, their grounds crew. In fact, they've got a better radar system than I do. They truly subscribe to them in Major League Baseball. Like, you have minute to minute on the ground, in the air radar. They know when it's going to rain. Can you get fooled? Of course. Nobody can predict the future of the weather, but when you've got heavy thunderstorms to the west of a city and weather moves west to east in the east, and they knew it was going to rain at 7 o'clock Eastern, why would you start the game at 6:40? Why would you do that? So what has happened here is you're in danger of losing Dylan Cease. What do I mean by that? Well, he started the game. Dylan Cease is your ace. He's your horse. He's your everything. He's one of the best pitchers in the game right now. You don't get cute. So typically between innings, guys sit, they stay warm. How do they stay warm? They wear jackets. They literally stay warm. You don't get hot, so to speak. You don't get up to get down. You don't sit for an hour between innings traditionally. That's a rarity. Now, do guys return from a rain delay if it's a short length of time? Yeah, they do. 30-minute delay, you bring a guy back. 50-minute delay, you consider bringing a guy back. You push an hour-plus delay, and sometimes you're asking for trouble. You're talking about a pitcher that's in the midst of the best run of his career, arguably. Yeah, he finished second in Cy Young voting a couple of years ago, but he's been elite, the best pitcher in the National League elite. And what you've just done is thrown everything, a wrench into everything. Why? Because you got to cover 8 innings in this game. He's thrown an inning, and you're scoreless at the bottom of the second inning. Now, you caught a break. A ball should have left the yard in the bottom of the first inning. It was off the top of the wall and right. It would have left 24 ballparks, I think, in baseball, they said. But so you're scoreless, which is fine, and all things are fine from that perspective. But you've also burned potentially Dylan Cease. Now, I don't know that to be the case. We'll wait on the delay. I don't have the radar in front of me right now. Maybe it's quick moving. Maybe this thing moves out in 15 minutes. Dylan Cease is back at the mound in the bottom of the second inning. But I've never understood this hell-bent idea from baseball. And I think it varies, by the way, from park to park. I don't even know what they do anymore in Major League Baseball, who mandates the start. But if you know with 90% certainty it's going to pour within 20 minutes, why would you start the game? What is the benefit for anyone to do that?
I just was on the Apple Weather app, and they're calling it isolated thunderstorms. So my guess is the umps were kind of crossing their fingers that
it would miss.
It might miss us, and they were wrong because they're umpires, not meteorologists. But yeah, that would be my guess. Is they said, "Oh, it's isolated. There's a chance, that it could just go right by us," and it didn't. Went right over them.
Yeah, and listen, nobody's perfect on this. You grow up in San Diego and you get fooled by weather sometimes. There's been weird weather situations out here. We have all kinds of. If for as good as the weather is, there's all types of seasons. You have your fire seasons. We've had crazy weather. I think there was a hurricane last August. That was crazy, right? You don't get that, and things can happen, and you never get it all right. In the East, they predict 24 inches of snow. It doesn't snow, or they predict 1 to 3 inches of snow, and you get a foot of snow. But when it comes to summertime in the East and thunderstorms, again, teams are dealing with it all year long. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Boston, New York. We get it. They play outside. It's a part of summer. It's a part of life. But when you have access to radar, and we said it. I mean, I'm sitting there at 3 o'clock and said, the worst scenario is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the radar. It's going to rain in Pittsburgh in the next 20 minutes. They start the game. Lo and behold, it's raining 20 minutes later in Pittsburgh. Now, at the end of the day, the rain is non-controllable. That's out of our hands. All I would say is this. If it was going to rain at 7 p.m. and you have a 6:40 start time, wait until the rain stops. If it never stops, play 2 games on Wednesday or Thursday. If it does stop and the 6:40 start, now you can't start until 8:55 Eastern. Well, at least Dylan Cease hasn't yet started his warm-up and is available to make that start when the game gets underway and the weather moves through. And now it's 8:55 Eastern, and Dylan Cease is healthy and ready to go. But once you get these guys up, only to see them sit, and now, thankfully, the Padres have this deep bullpen. And thankfully, the Padres are well-rested. And thankfully, from Mike Schilt, we heard it earlier, Joe Musgrove, there's a high probability he's returning this weekend in Miami. So you got some options. You have some flexibility. But the point is the point, which is you are in a fight to get into the postseason. You're still vying in the National League West. Every game is impactful when you're where the Padres are right now in the standings. You don't want to throw away a Dylan Cease start. Not when he's had the last 5 starts like he's had, where he's had this 1 ERA, where he's thrown a no-hitter, where he's almost been unhittable. Not just a no-hitter. His last 5 starts, he's almost been unhittable. He has been that good. And now he's throwing an inning, and I'm going to see who in the second inning if this is a 1-hour rain delay. Now, what's interesting, almost ironic, is that he threw his no-hitter when there was a rain delay at the onset of a game in D.C. against the Nationals 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago. They paused the game after the top of the first inning, but he didn't yet appear, or he hadn't yet appeared in the game, I want to say, or maybe he threw an inning, I forget. And then he ends up throwing a no-hitter. So now he's already allowed a hit in this game, so that's not happening here today. But maybe all's well that ends well, and the tarp comes off the field, and he throws 7 innings of one-hit baseball, and the Padres win this game 4-0. Maybe he only throws an inning because this thing is paused for 90 minutes. The bullpen picks up the slack and goes 8 scoreless innings. The Padres still win 4-0 or 7-1 or whatever. But what I said to J. Riff in the first hour, I stand by. When everything's going good, you don't want a wrench thrown into it. You've got the best record in baseball since the All-Star break. Truly, the best at 11-3. Coming off an off day. Coming off a 4-1 homestand. You swept the LA Dodgers. You're in Pittsburgh and Miami. These teams, Miami's been awful. They've sold off all their parts. Pittsburgh, they've definitely exceeded expectations, but a lot of the work has been done by Paul Skeens here over the last 3 months. You're not seeing Skeens this series. You may not see him in San Diego next week either. So you're like, hey, listen, the Padres are going to be favored in 5 of these games. I said that earlier today. Like these 3 games in Pittsburgh, the 3 games in Miami, like you're going to be favored 5 times. You're going to throw Dylan Cease a couple of times, 1 game in Miami, 1 game in Pittsburgh. You've got great starting pitching. You just want everything to go smoothly. You don't need we burned through Cease because of the rain delay, and then we played a suspended game and no. Just win a couple of series, get back home, keep trending in the right direction. And again, maybe everything Brent's going to be fine. Maybe I'm overreacting. I'm just kind of reacting. I'm not trying to overreact. I'm just reacting to what's playing out in real time. And in real time, I didn't like them starting it on time because we knew it was going to rain, and surprise, it's raining.
All right, this is new. I'll be the glass half full guy.
Yes.
The one positive, it's like you said, we're well rested. We got that new pumped up bullpen. So I guess if this was going to happen today, granted, we don't want to lose a C start, but we wouldn't want to lose a C start on a day where, we would have used a whole bunch of our bullpen the previous day to where we, have a lack of arms.
That's right.
Pretty much coming off the off day, the entire bullpen is available. So, if they do have a longer delay than what we want to where Cease can't go back out there, we at least have the entire bullpen to choose from for what we're going to do. It's not one of those situations where it's like, we got Morihone and Morihone. All right. So we'll go with Morihone because they don't have anybody else to go with. So that's my class half full, is at least we have plenty of options. And, we got all those closers now. So this could be one of those situations where put one of them in the 7th, put one of them in the 8th, and just go closer for like the last 3 innings.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Your point is valid. If you're going to have a day, you need to use your bullpen. Today's the day to do it, coming off an off day, playing as well as you've been playing here recently. But I just saw this tweet from Kevin Acey, our Padres insider, who will join us Friday before Padres Marlins in Miami. The delay began 17 minutes after first pitch. So it wasn't even, again, if you start a game at 6:40 Eastern and it rains at 8:10, okay, now we're pushing it. 90 minutes, I understand it. I think anything inside 30 minutes, when it starts to rain less than 30 minutes after you've made a decision, means you either got fooled or you have no regard for what these teams are trying to accomplish, which is make sure when they use starters, they're afforded the opportunity to throw the 90, 100, 110 pitches in their arms that given day. When you only give Dylan Cease 10 pitches or whatever he threw that inning, I have no idea. 14 pitches. It's like, come on. Now, what would you do here? If Cease can't return because this is a long delay, you don't wait 5 days probably. You probably bring him back a couple days later. Yeah. This is his bullpen. But again, he was pitching beautifully. I don't want to mess with everything that he's been doing, the way he's been throwing, the bullpens, throwing every fifth or sixth day. And this, again, puts things in flux, is the way I would say. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. We'll give away Jane's Addiction tickets at Gallagher Square on August 11th this hour as well. Alan Swa, ESPN LA on the U.S., routing Brazil in the quarterfinal. He will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area. The latest with Brandon Aiyuk. She will join us at 5:30. As we've been doing these last couple of weeks, we remind you, iHeartRadio is the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. This NBC Olympic report is brought to you by Islands Restaurants, your local paradise. All right, hey guys, it's Schaefer, and listen up. We have found paradise. It is Circa Las Vegas. We were there in July for a couple of days, Mountain West Media Days. We're going back this month here in August in a couple of weeks. Truly a sports lover's dream. It just is. You got to see their sports book. It's incredible. The largest in Nevada. Think about that. And Stadium Swim, which is incredible. 6 rooftop pools, 6 of them. Massive outdoor video boards to watch all the games. In fact, they have every single San Diego Padres game on at Stadium Swim. They're open 365 days a year. That's every day. Here's the other good news. Circa is a 21-plus venue. There's nothing to worry about other than sports. And speaking of which, the biggest pro football contests in Vegas are back. They're incredible. Circa Survivor and Circa Million, now up to $16 million in guaranteed prizes. 2 ways to win, no rake. Circa Survivor contestants select one team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all with $10 million guaranteed. And Circa Million, make 5 picks against the spread each week for your share of $6 million guaranteed. They have quarterly payouts. They have full season payouts. You enter in Nevada, but here's the thing. You can play from anywhere, including right here in lovely San Diego. Visit circasports.com. That's circasports.com for details. Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is back, and you can win tickets. Our iHeartRadio Festival is back, and tickets are available right now for it. Are available right now for the iHeartRadio Music Festival. So make sure to grab those AXS.com. AXS.com. We do have Jane's Addiction tickets to give away. Gallagher Square, August 11th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Alan Swa, ESPN LA on Team USA, big over Brazil during the semis. He'll join us at 5. Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area on Brandon Aiyuk. The latest there, will they trade him or not? She will join us coming up at 5:30. We are monitoring a rain delay in Pittsburgh. Padres and Pirates underway. They're in a rain delay, no score. We'll see if it chases Dylan Cease from the game or not. If there is good news as well, the Pirates may be dealing with the same thing, which is going to be Pirates bullpen against Padres bullpen is advantage Padres bullpen potentially. We'll see. Long delay, short delay. We'll see. While we have a moment, though, why don't we get to this?
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you think it would be a mistake for the Niners to trade Brandon Aiyuk?
It's possible. Obviously it takes two to tango here. If he's not going to play for the Niners, or if it's going to be a headache, then maybe it's in their best interest to move him. I would just say this. If you're moving him, I'm trying to get a return that helps me in 2024. I'm not trying to get picks for 2025. My window is now. Christian McCaffrey's not getting younger. And if I'm doing it without, Brandon Aiyuk, I need something quality in return for 2024. So it's not necessarily a mistake, but how do you overcome his loss? I think by adding something that can help you in 2024. So it's an interesting situation that's playing out by the hour. I mean, he could be dealt at some point today, this week. I mean, that's seemingly a distinct possibility if you've been following what's played out. Adam Schefter reporting on it at ESPN. Next question.
What was the most impressive thing about Team USA's blowout win over Brazil today?
Well, the thing I'm going to give them credit for is that they haven't yet been in a game, right? Like, they're not putting themselves in a situation where it's coming down to a fourth quarter. They led this game by 30 points, I want to say, at some point.
Yeah.
In the third quarter, they'll get Serbia in the semis. And again, you didn't need anything special from anyone. Large early lead. You didn't need to lean on anyone to play 30 minutes. Kevin Durant, for example, in this game, I think he only scored 10 or 11 points, but they didn't need it. So they did what they were supposed to do. That's what's most impressive. They're not getting snuck up on. They're not letting anyone hang around into the second half. Maybe that changes with Serbia coming up at the semis, but what's impressive to me is that they had a large early lead, and they held that large early lead.
And they're going to get lucky because Canada got beat by France.
Right.
And in my opinion, Canada was their biggest threat. Now they're out. So now it's pretty much going to be Serbia and Joker and possibly Wemby.
Yeah, of course, that
gold.
would be in Paris. Advantage crowd-wise to Team France, but advantage team-wise, obviously, to Team USA. They're now 2 wins from a 5th consecutive gold. And against Serbia, this is now the medal round because of these 4 teams, 3 of them get medals. Only the loser of the next 2 games won't come away with at least a bronze. Next question.
Between the Jets, Bears, and Chargers, who's most likely to make the postseason this season?
I just got to say this objectively. I'm going to bet on Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers and Justin Herbert. I think the Bears' future is bright. I do. I just don't know if it's right now in 2024. And I think the Jets are threading needles with Aaron Rodgers. How am I betting on Aaron Rodgers coming off last year? And it is the New York Jets that we're talking about with their 40-year-old. So Jets, because they're the Jets, no. Bears, because I'm thinking more 25 than 24, no. And I just feel like the Chargers with Harbaugh and Herbert in his prime among those 3 teams is best set up.
It's going to be biased, but I kind of think it's the Bears.
Do you?
They play in the weakest division.
They do.
The Jets got to deal with the Dolphins and the Bills, and the Chargers got to deal with the Chiefs. And, the Bears have to deal with Detroit. Minnesota's on the downturn now. Who knows if, Jordan Love's going to go through a sophomore slump in his second year now that team's got some film on him. So, just by the division they play in. I think it's going to be the Bears just because they have an easier way and they don't have the Chiefs or the Bills or the Dolphins standing in front of them.
I think it's a very good point. I think it makes it possible for the Bears to get to the postseason this year. And we'll see. Is there a ramp up with Harbaugh? Do they have the right pieces in place?
Yeah. Caleb Williams looked awesome on Thursday.
Well, there we go.
He's
not playing, right?
Yeah.
Next question.
Would you sign up for a 4-2 road trip for the Padres?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because what's the alternative? No, I'm holding out for 5-1. Like 5-1 is a really good trip. 6-0 is an amazing trip. So let's say we fast forward and they go 4-2 on this trip. They're 11-3 in the second half. That makes them 15-5 in the second half and puts them 11 games over 500. Like, what's the problem there? If I told you they're 15-5 in the second half, it'd be the best record in baseball probably in the second half. They would be 11 games over 500. They would be really trending towards a postseason spot. Not locking anything up, but trending in the right direction. Jim's talked about trusting this team when they get 10 games over, although he's talking about maybe a little later, like towards September 1st, which I understand. But, there's going to be a number like 12 over, 14 over, 15 over. We're going to say we trust them, and they're well positioned to make the postseason. So, 4-2 trip, which would be potentially a series win in Pittsburgh. Let's say 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh, 2 out of 3 against Miami. You come back home for Pittsburgh, right? And then I think you go to Colorado. Yeah, just keep winning series. And that's what the Padres are doing right now. All right, on the other side, this was interesting from John Canzano, who covers college football in the Pacific Northwest. He was very involved in the realignment conversation last summer, the way it played out as the Pac-12 kind of dissolved. He was kind of spitballing about the future of both the Big 12 and the ACC and what it means for San Diego State. So John Canzano on his radio show, you'll hear from him on the other side. Plus, we're giving away those Jane's Addiction tickets this hour, August 11th, Ticketmaster.com. Plus, we're keeping an eye on the skies in Pittsburgh as the Padres and Pirates are in a rain delay. It's Jon and Jim.
Oh, could they put in there? Espolone. This report is sponsored by the Del Mar Racetrack. Right now, currently at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, the Pirates and the Padres are in a rain delay in the bottom of the second with no score. The White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 88 Orioles. The NL record is held by the 1961 Phillies, who lost 23 straight games. The Patriots and Browns have both been in contact with the 49ers about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. And according to ESPN, the Steelers have also shown interest in Aiyuk. Charles Barkley said today that he won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT even if there is no NBA after this upcoming season. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. This Saturday, August 10th, it's tacos and tequilas at the Del Mar Racetrack. Specialty tequilas, margaritas, and cervezas will be paired up with tasty tacos from the best taco shops in town for ages 21 and up only. Sponsored by Espolone Tequila. This report is sponsored by the Del Mar Racetrack. Right now, currently at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, the Pirates and the Padres are in a rain delay in the bottom of the second with no score. The White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 88 Orioles. The NL record is held by the 1961 Phillies, who lost 23 straight games. The Patriots and Browns have both been in contact with the 49ers about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. And according to ESPN, the Steelers have also shown interest in Aiyuk. Charles Barkley said today that he won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT even if there is no NBA after this upcoming season. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. This Saturday, August 10th, it's tacos and tequilas at the Del Mar Racetrack. Specialty tequilas, margaritas, and cervezas will be paired up with tasty tacos from the best taco shops in town for ages 21 and up only. Sponsored by Espolón Tequila.
Keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere, whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home. Through the iHeartRadio app, it's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. All right, we have an eye on the skies in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Why? Because that's where the Padres are trying to play game one of their series with the Pirates at PNC Park, and they started a game with weather in the area, and it came back to bite them because 17 minutes after the start, the game was in a rain delay due to heavy thunderstorms and rain, heavy rain and thunderstorms and, real extreme wet weather in Western Pennsylvania. So we're waiting now on the resumption of this game. It's probably been 30 minutes since the delay started, maybe more, 35 minutes.
At least.
Something like that. And the fear is this is Dylan Cease starting for the Padres, who's been the best pitcher in baseball his last 5 times out. He's thrown a no-hitter in there. And the fear is he doesn't come back because you don't want to have him sit that long and cool down and then ramp him back up. So then you turn to your bullpen. Okay, you have to do it one time. So be it. But I just feel like it all could have been avoided. You just could have waited for the rain to move through and then play. And who even knows if this game gets picked up, by the way? I mean, there's a possibility you suspend it. They're scoreless in the bottom of the second inning. I haven't looked at the weather. I have no idea. And then you just play essentially 2 games, either Saturday or Sunday.
Well, and the thing that kind of is irking me is Cleveland was in the same situation and they delayed the start of the game.
Happens all the time.
So it's just, they're not like, it's not LT, Carson to San Diego close, but, Cleveland and Pittsburgh are somewhat, geographically close to where it's like, come on, guys. If they could do it, why couldn't you do it?
Yeah.
What top secret weather information did they have in Cleveland that you guys didn't have access to in Pittsburgh that you couldn't just go, hey, let's just push it back 15 minutes and we'll know by then if we're going to be able to start or if we're going to have to delay it.
Well, I'll be Johnny Weather Guy right now because everyone can be like a weather guy when they pull up like AccuWeather maps and all these like weather.com maps. So again, I don't have the information they have like on field. The grounds crew has like the subscription software that Major League Baseball has. They have all the up-to-date latest information. All I know is this. I went to AccuWeather. I typed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I clicked on the radar and it looks like an absolute S show. The weather, like there's red and there's yellow and there's oranges in there. We don't have to be meteorologists to understand that it's going to rain and is raining now.
Right, Johnny Weather, according to Apple Weather, rain is expected to stop in 40 minutes.
So why'd you start? You know what I mean? Like, why'd you start the game if it was going to rain from 17 minutes after first pitch until, 8:15 p.m. Eastern? You could have just waited until 8:15. And here's the other thing. If the rain does stop in 40 minutes, remember this, got to take the tarp off the field. Pitchers got to warm back up and so do the players. So 40 minutes, add another 15, 20. You're an hour. Now you're talking about 90 minutes plus between pitches for Dylan Cease. We'll see if they roll those dice or not. You throw them back out there after a 90-minute delay?
I think it's too long.
Yeah. And again, in D.C., he hadn't yet pitched, and there was something like a 90-minute delay, but he hadn't yet pitched. So that's a different ramp up than what they're asking Cease to potentially do tonight, which is get hot, so to speak, for that first inning and then cool down for 90 minutes and then ramp back up to pitch. We'll see. Now, again, you've got this bullpen, you've got this lineup. Hopefully they could, if it's Padres bullpen against Pirates bullpen, I'll take my chances tonight that the Padres can win that game. And then if Cease bounces back in a couple of days and they move the rotation around, such is life. It's one of those things we didn't need. Everything was going beautifully. If you're a Padres fan, everything was so perfect. Said this in the first hour of the show, winning games, winning series, moving into playoff positioning, even hanging around the LA Dodgers. And then this.
We're still all right.
Everything's fine. Everything's still fine. I know. It's not like it's not like a complete 180 because it's raining tonight in Western Pennsylvania.
And I don't know. I feel a little better just because we're playing the Pirates. If this would have been, still in the Doyer series, then I'd be a little more concerned about, we can't really afford to, let this game slip to where, we still we could afford to let it slip, but we can't afford to let it slip, if that makes sense here. But I just don't feel like, if this was the Dodger series, I'd be like, oh no.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just, listen, like we said earlier, you're playing well, but you're not at a point where you're like, I got 6 games of separation for a wild card spot. Like Pittsburgh's 3.5 games behind the Padres coming into the series, which is a decent gap until you lose a series or until worst case scenario plays out and you get swept in a series. And all of a sudden that's overcome over the course of a couple of days. So, and you play them 6 times over the next 10 days, where if you don't have a good week and a half against them and you lose 4 out of 6 or worse, then the gap's been closed. So it is.
You know what impactful. I just thought of?
What's that?
Let's say that the rain goes for longer and they can't get it in. Does that mean we're going to get stuck seeing Skeens after all?
I don't know the last time he pitched.
Because that would change the rotation, right? Because
Well,
you would think it would push everything up or back a day.
Yeah, but it wouldn't really impact tomorrow or Thursday.
But it might impact the next series.
It could. And that's such the deep dive. That's for someone else. That's for Kevin, for Dennis Lynn. It's for AJ Cassavell. You're right. Like, could rain now impact who throws for the Pirates on the other side of the series? Yeah, absolutely. Just like rain could now impact, like Dylan Cease might end up, let's say Cease was only supposed to face the Pirates once over the next 2 series. He was tonight. Then 5 games from now is Miami. And then he was going to miss Pittsburgh. But now because of this,
he'll see him twice.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it was only for an inning here tonight. So we're monitoring. And again, it gives me kind of nightmares. When I think back on my time in minor league baseball, what I think about is the tarp on the field. And I think about 2-hour delays. And I think about double headers. And I think about late night bus trips because a game that was supposed to start at 7 started at 10. And now a game that was supposed to end at 10 ends at 1. And by the time you pack the bus up and get on the road, it's 2 a.m. And now by the time you arrive back home, the sun is up. So that's not their concern here tonight. This is more first world problems. Is it going to rain or not? Is the rain going to stop or not? Are we going to play 2 games tomorrow or not? But are they concerned about Dylan Cease and his availability tonight? Yeah, probably right now. Here's my guess. Here's what's happening. If you want to go inside the Padres clubhouse at this very moment, here are the conversations that they're having. Trust me, because I've been there when these conversations have happened. The front office is checking in on the coaching staff on availability of Cease, on what they want to do here with them. And if Cease is going to be down from here on out tonight, who's the first to get the ball to go the rest of the way here, right? At what point do they say, listen, we'll give Cease 60 minutes. If this delay goes beyond 60 minutes, he's not going to go. If that's the case, first out of the bullpen is Stephen Kolek. I'm making it up. Let's try to get 2 innings from him and then go from here. But those are the conversations happening right now between training staff and Cease, training staff and coaching staff and front office. Are they willing to, quote unquote, risk it with Cease? I would think no. I could be dead wrong. It varies by organization. It's all dependent on length of time. And again, if it were to end now, the rain, maybe he pitches. If it ends a half hour from now, maybe not, because that's too much time in between pitches. So that's my thought on what's playing out right now in that Padres clubhouse. Game 1 between the Padres and the Pirates. Will they finish it tonight or not? We mentioned earlier that Alan Swa was going to join us. He will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Team USA big over Brazil today. His thoughts on the Padres as well as a lifelong Padres fan. Then Jennifer Lee Chan at 5:30, NBC Sports Bay Area on Brandon Aiyuk. Will he move or not here during training camp? And coming up on the other side, we'll give away tickets to see Jane's Addiction, Gallagher Square, August 11th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. The latest as the rain falls in Pittsburgh. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, Alan Swa will join us coming up at 5 p.m. Team USA rolling into the semifinals in Paris, looking for a fifth straight gold. Alan also a Padres fan. So his thoughts on the fast start out of the break. 11-3, the best record in baseball for San Diego. The update there. And by the way, we'll give away Jane's Addiction tickets, let's say, in 5 minutes. So be listening for that. Your chance to win tickets to see Jane's Addiction at Petco, actually Gallagher Square. August 11th, tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. The update is that there is no update, as we like to say. In the business, it's raining is the update. What I've seen from those that are covering this game or are there, like Don Orsillo or AJ Cassavell or anyone, is that there is a full rainbow beyond the center field wall.
Double rainbow
at PNC Park. So, like, the big takeaway here is that there's this full rainbow from left field to right field. This is one of the most picturesque backdrops in the sport. Again, San Diego's great, right? Petco, downtown, right in the gas lamp, East Village. It's one of the best. And Pittsburgh is comparable in terms of it's right in the city center. It's intimate. It's a small ballpark. It's not big, a lot like Petco. It's smaller as opposed to bigger. They've got Pittsburgh skyline over the right field wall. So you got this like picturesque situation playing out, which right now has the tarp on the field in the second inning of a scoreless game. So we are crossing our fingers. Hopefully they pick this thing up. We'll see if Dylan Cease is back out there when this game does resume, if it does resume here tonight.
I just looked again in about half an hour. So around 5:15-ish our time.
Okay, so it's supposed to rain another 30 minutes?
Yeah.
There's nothing like rain talk and radar watch. There's honestly, it's only in baseball. Now, it's a little bit now. It's come to college football. If you followed the sport over the last 10 years.
Only was lightning, though.
That's the thing. Now they got the lightning delays. And also the first week of every season. I don't know why. 25 years ago, this never happened. I say that I'm not right. But it used to be, it was pouring rain. You'd still have games in like South Florida in August and September, and they just play through it. Now they're moving games left and right. There's always remnants of a hurricane. There's tropical storms. They're moving LSU games. They're moving Miami games. They're moving every year like clockwork. FSU's moving a game. Tulane's moving a game. Where, again, in baseball, you're going to get it. Over the course of a year, you go east, you're going to get rain delays. In college football, I'm telling you, 2AT, that week one, that Labor Day weekend, games are getting moved because of weather, left and right.
Yeah, but at least college football, it's, if it's nothing short of lightning or a hurricane, they're going to play through it.
Yeah, okay, other than lightning. Yeah,
other than lightning and a hurricane,
they'll
play through.
In baseball, that's not happening, as we know. Do we have the sound here from Jon Canzano? Why don't we get to it here? So this is interesting. So the backstory is we spent 2 years talking about realignment. I mean, right? I mean, we truly spent 2 years from SC and UCLA to the Big Ten until basically August of last year when we found out the Pac-12 kind of was dissolving. We spent a lot of time on it. And now here we are again where it's never over. ACC is a little bit in flux. Florida State and Clemson won out. Big 12 has added teams because of what happened in the Pac-12. They're up to 16. You got 18 in the Big 10. You got 16 in the SEC. I don't even know the number of the ACC.
Are they still suing Florida State and Clemson?
They are.
Okay.
They're suing. So that's going on. You have SMU, Stanford, and Cal entering the league within the last year. Jon Canzano has covered this whole story.
Real quick, I just think it's funny, how everyone is just complaining about, oh my God, USC has to travel to the Midwest. And it's just like, nobody's saying anything about Cal being in the ACC and
Not
having to go from, this corner of the country all the way to the
Salem,
from ocean to ocean,
pretty Boston, Massachusetts. So Jon Canzano's been on top of this for like 2 years. He's gotten some things right. He's gotten some things wrong. I was listening to his show yesterday. And I just stumbled on this. He was kind of spitballing, but he always comes from like somewhat of a, background sourced area. Now this isn't something that's like going to happen. He was just offering his opinion. Take a listen. Hypothetical. I mean, take a listen to this about Oregon State and Washington State who are in limbo and what it may or may not have to do with San Diego State and the Power Four.
Because I think there's a greater chance for the ACC to have some chaos with the Florida State Clemson lawsuits and them trying to negotiate it out, and the ACC network and ESPN trying to add value to replace that divot potentially. And I could see a situation in which the ACC, not the Big 12, becomes a landing spot for Oregon State and Washington State because the ACC loses Clemson, loses Florida State, knows that it can use Stanford and Cal and SMU to replace a big piece of that inventory-wise. But ESPN may go, we need more. And at that point, I think it would behoove the ACC to go, okay, what about Washington State and Oregon State, or Washington State, Oregon State, San Diego State? Because now you're back to some balance, right? Because SMU threw the thing out of balance. It was a one-off. Didn't come with a partner. SMU bought its way into the ACC. And so I kind of wonder if San Diego State is that partner for SMU. Get you Southern California. ESPN would love that. And then Washington State and Oregon State give you even more inventory in the Pacific time zone. And suddenly you have this Pacific division, kind of, that includes SMU and Dallas, that includes Stanford and Cal, San Diego State, Oregon State, Washington State, and SMU.
So, right from John Canzano, I mean, interesting because the ACC is an odd number of teams right now. It's 17. It's bizarre. So, who knows? And if Florida State and Clemson leave, by the way, they have lawsuits, it would still be an odd number, 15. Do you really want to get back to 17? Odd just is odd. I mean, that's kind of like a gym. That's like a gym fact.
That's a total gym fact.
But like, do you want to be at 15 or you want to be at 16? You want to be at 17 or you want to be at 18? And that's where San Diego State, just from a sheer number perspective, again, we are spitballing. This is not being reported. So let's be clear. But, if you lost Florida State and you lost Clemson and you want a western half of the ACC and you got Stanford, Cal, SMU, what about Oregon State, Washington State, San Diego State? Who says no? Like, why? San Diego State's done. I've talked about this for years. They've done everything necessary to get to the power level. All they need is an invite. And it wasn't their fault the Pac-12 disintegrated around them. If it would have existed, if they signed that TV deal, San Diego State's in it right now. Like, they earned it. SMU kind of bought their way in. Not kind of, they did. San Diego State earned it and then had things that were outside of their control play out over a period of time. Whoever would have thought the Pac-12 would have been on death's door the way it all played out there? I mean, nobody was really talking about it until the end, and that's what happened. So it's never over until it is over. The one thing I know about conference realignment is that there's always realignment. Through the history of the sport, there's always realignment. By the way, I see the grounds crew on field with the managers right now at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. They have work to do on that field, Brent, because there is puddling on the warning track. So it's not like take the tarp off and they'll play 10 minutes later. They've got some work to do on the field. It's been an hour. The tarp is still on the field. I don't know if it's still supposed to rain or not, but Mike Schilt, Pirates manager, whoever is it, who is the Pirates manager? It's not Clint Hurdle, is it? Who is the Pirates manager? Derek Shelton. Derek Shelton's the Pirates manager. They're on the field.
The update that Don and Mud just gave was that the tarp is off the field. It's stopped raining.
Oh,
but there is an area of concern, like they said I thought they said the left field, over by the warning track. They said that there's water's puddled and starting to collect. They said there's a little mini swamp over there. So they said now the delay is just going to be for however long it takes them to pretty much throw more dirt on the puddle and get it soaked up.
All right, so maybe baseball coming at some point in the next 20 or 30 minutes. What does it mean for Dylan Cease? He started this game, but then rain came, and he's been sitting for over an hour. An update from PNC Park, plus Alan Swa on the Padres' good play on Team USA advancing to the semifinals in Paris to kick off Hour 3. Call right now if you want Jane's Addiction tickets. Caller 3, they're yours. 877-767-4760. Caller 3, they are yours. 877-767-4760. This is Jane's Addiction, August 11th, Gallagher Square. 877-767-4760. Alan is next.
This report is sponsored by the Del Mar Racetrack. The Padres and the Pirates are still in a rain delay in the bottom of the second at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Even though the rain has stopped and the tarp is off the field, the grounds crew is dealing with a, quote, small swampy area over in the left field warning track area. So we're hoping play will be resumed once they get that taken care of. But the Padres and Pirates still in a rain delay in the bottom of the second in Pittsburgh. The White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 88 Orioles. The NL record is held by the 61 Phillies, who lost 23 straight. The New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns both have been in contact with the 49ers about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. The Steelers are also interested in Aiyuk, according to ESPN. And Charles Barkley says he won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT even if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. This Saturday, August 10th, it's tacos and tequila at the Del Mar Racetrack. Specialty tequilas, margaritas, and cervezas will be paired up with tasty tacos from the best taco shops in town. For ages 21 and up only, sponsored by Espolón Tequila. This report is sponsored by the Del Mar Racetrack. The Padres and the Pirates are still in a rain delay in the bottom of the second at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Even though the rain has stopped and the tarp is off the field, the grounds crew is dealing with a, quote, small swampy area over in the left field warning track area. So we're hoping play will be resumed once they get that taken care of. But the Padres and Pirates still in a rain delay in the bottom of the second in Pittsburgh. The White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 88 Orioles. The NL record is held by the 61 Phillies, who lost 23 straight. The New England Patriots and the Cleveland Browns both have been in contact with the 49ers about wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. The Steelers are also interested in Aiyuk, according to ESPN. And Charles Barkley says he won't retire after all, and he will stay with TNT even if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. This Saturday, August 10th, it's tacos and tequila at the Del Mar Racetrack. Specialty tequilas, margaritas, and cervezas will be paired up with tasty tacos from the best taco shops in town. For ages 21 and up only, sponsored by Espolón Tequila.
San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. Alan Swa, kind enough to swing by. ESPN LA, friend of the show. Travis and Sliwa, Lakers talk. Padres fan. Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area, on Brandon Aiyuk. What's next here for the Niners and Aiyuk? She will join us at 5:30. By the way, guys, real quick, the update is this. They expect to resume play now. This just came out seconds ago. At 5:15 Pacific in Pittsburgh. Padres and Pirates.
I called it.
At 5:15, which is what Brent, I think, was saying. So, Alan, appreciate it. Let's start with the Padres. They have the best record in baseball since the All-Star break. They are 11-3. They're in a rain delay right now in Pittsburgh. It's kind of tough to complain about the way things are going, right, for the Padres and Padres fans. And thanks for hopping on.
I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, the only thing to complain about is some of the other teams that all of a sudden, Arizona obviously playing some good ball, but nothing to complain about with the Padres. They've been great. The pitching has been unbelievable. Obviously Dylan Cease, we'll see how kind of the rest of the day pans out, but he's been great. Michael King, Waldron, a nice last start for him. So it's been great to see it. A lot of momentum, obviously after the trade deadline as well. Padre fans got to feel good. So we just got to keep it up. It's August, and I wish it wasn't so crowded the way it is with the Mets, with the Diamondbacks, with the Braves, with the Cardinals, a couple other teams hanging around. But a lot of positivity on the Padres, so you got to feel good about that.
Alan Swa with us right now. Now, you cover this day in and day out in Southern California, in Los Angeles. So, in your opinion, is the division, we're probably getting ahead of ourselves, but is the division realistic or not?
I think the next couple of weeks are going to say a lot. Padres went through a stretch where they had Cleveland and Baltimore, and obviously had that 2-game set against the Dodgers. Trying to think. I know there's some other talented teams I'm kind of forgetting here off the fly, but the Dodgers now are in that mix. The Dodgers got 3-game set against the Phillies. They obviously won yesterday. They're going to have to eventually play the Clevelands, the Baltimores. So the schedule for the Dodgers isn't going to get any easier. I think these next couple of weeks is going to tell a lot. If you can get a couple more games over these next couple of weeks, and now you're within 2 games or so, then we obviously have a race. The thing that works to the benefit of the Dodgers, the longer they're in front, the longer they have a cushion, the more players are going to get back. So that's the one thing that I keep in mind. But they got a tough schedule in front of them, at least in these next couple of weeks in August. And the Padres, who finally took a couple games from the Rockies, obviously Pittsburgh, an average team, not a great team, not a bad team. So, I caution Padre fans to look at the Pirates, but there's some ground to be made up. And I think if it happens in the next couple of weeks, that's going to be their chance.
Doesn't it feel as if we've been talking about this since the deadline? Like, they really bolstered their bullpen. They're playing outstanding baseball. We'll see about the back of the rotation, although there's some encouraging news. Joe Musgrove, they acquired Martin Perez, who was good his first time out. Doesn't it feel like they've put together a team that is kind of built for a postseason? And I think they're trending there as well. They've work to do, but doesn't it feel like, should they get there, they have the pieces that would afford them an opportunity to potentially make a run?
Look, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And I know anything can happen in a 5-game set or a 3-game set. We've seen teams that you just thought, yeah, that team's a lock. They're absolutely going to make the NLCS, or they're absolutely going to make the World Series. And we see how anything can happen in these small sets. But I like the way they're built. And I could tell you, obviously being up here in LA, and I do my best to represent the Padres as I can. There are definitely people that are like, yeah, that team could be a problem. We obviously know, and I know regular season doesn't tell the whole story, but 7-3, I think, against the Dodgers this year. So they've had some success against the Dodgers. I think the Padres can be very, very dangerous if they just get in. And it's not that I'm not thinking that far, but it's not a lock that they even get in. So there is a little bit, and there's still, obviously just under 2 months left to go. But go look at ESPN, go look at Fox, go look at any of these networks. When they're talking baseball, it feels like a lot of networks out there are looking at the Padres as that could be a real problem in the playoffs.
Alan Swa with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Let's switch gears to Team USA. They really steamrolled Team Brazil today. They're in the semis, so the medal round, 2 wins away from a 5th consecutive gold medal. I mean, from what I've seen so far, there's no reason for any concern, right? They're doing what they're supposed to do, which is stay out of any type of coin flip game late. Like today, this game was basically decided in the first 10 or 15 minutes, essentially.
Yeah, and I think what you just mentioned too, not a surprise. I mean, this is what they're supposed to be doing. It's funny. I'm watching. The game was going on while I was still doing my radio show, but got a chance to kind of watch it in the background, see the highlights, all this stuff. I think they had 6 guys in double figures, a couple guys with 9 points. Nobody really standing out with 30 points, because you don't need somebody to get 30. AD is going to give his. Embiid is going to contribute. Tatum, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, LeBron James. there's so many incredible players on that team. Even if you have another country like Germany or France, Canada got eliminated a little bit earlier today. Greece is out with Giannis. Even those teams have great players. They have one or two of them. They don't have 6, 7, or 8 of them. And that's what USA has. So the USA basketball, it's very simple how it goes when Olympic play starts. Either you won the gold medal and you really get no credit for doing it because you're supposed to do it, or you didn't get the gold and everybody's saying, what the hell happened to USA basketball?
Yeah, that's 100% right. And now you look ahead, Serbia, a team they've had success against, I think, in the ramp up and even within the last week. And then we'll see about the gold medal game. It could be against Team France and Wemby. Is there, in your mind, do you think they'll get a game here or not?
Maybe Germany.
Okay,
Maybe.
Germany, yeah. Yep.
Maybe Germany, and I think that would be the only one that, I mean, I guess the definition of a game is it's a single-digit game, right?
Yeah,
That you're in the
single-digit,
fourth
maybe at
quarter.
some point in the fourth, right?
Exactly. There's fourth quarter, 6 minutes left to
Yep.
go, and you're looking, you're like, wow, that's a 6-point game,
Yep.
something along those lines. But I don't anticipate it happening. I think it would be more of a surprise. You know, we actually joke around about it when we're doing our show. It's like, hey, tell us if there's a game, because if there isn't, then I kind of don't really need to know what's happening with USA basketball. And I don't, listen, like I said, it'd be interesting if it was a game. Germany might be the one, and they face each other for the gold if they obviously both teams advance. That'd be the one game that I would say, all right, maybe there's at least a shot for it being a game in the fourth quarter, but I don't expect it.
Does this impact any type of ramp up for the season? Like LeBron, obviously, at whatever age he's at, AD in the second half of his career, playing throughout the course of a summer. It's not the first time they've done it, but it's the first time they've done it at this age. There's still plenty of time until preseason begins, but how does this impact the Lakers as they prepare for 2024-25?
I think it can. I definitely think it can. There are times when, I'm watching a game and I'm like, yeah, why don't you guys take Anthony Davis out?
Yeah.
Let's sit LeBron here for the fourth quarter. Look, they had to ramp up to get ready for the Olympics. They're playing real games. There's countries out there that obviously it means the world to them to try to medal. It's not like they have to. It's not like they're playing for an NBA championship and it's that kind of a grind after a regular season. But I would think that the Philadelphia 76ers are saying, all right, well, hopefully this thing ends quick and Joel Embiid's ready to go. And the Phoenix Suns are saying, hey, KD, are you sure you're good? Because if you're not, remember, you got a season coming up. And I think for the Laker perspective is LeBron's going to be 40 before this year is all said and done. Anthony Davis played 70-plus games last year. First time he's done that in a long time. And he's had some of his health issues. So how it will affect them, I'm not sure, but I know that those two players, I think you always watch during an 82-game grind, like, hey, are they good? Is everything all right? Now you're adding some summer games on top of that. I guess maybe the silver lining here is, and unfortunately for the Lakers, but May 1st, the season was over. So it's not like they only played basically 5 more games or 6 more games if you count the playing game after the regular season ended.
Yeah, really good point. I hadn't thought about that. It's not like they had played, the second, third, fourth round like LeBron has done throughout the course of his NBA career. Alan, we always appreciate it. Love the perspective on NBA, Team USA, the Padres. It does sound like after all this rigmarole, Dylan Cease will be back in the mound for the Padres when play resumes momentarily in Pittsburgh. Alan, thank you for doing it, man. We'll do it again soon, all right?
All right, brother. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. Alan Swa, San Diegan, ESPN LA, host of Lakers Talk. So is it much ado about nothing, or what impact will this have on Dylan Cease and the Padres? Plus, as Brent's been telling you in the updates, he won't retire after all, but iHeartRadio is the exclusive audio home of NBC's coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympics. And this NBC Olympic report is brought to you by Islands Restaurants, your local paradise. All right, update from Pittsburgh in a moment. We told you about this yesterday. Really cool event, the first annual iHeartRadio Pickleball Tournament brought to you by Little Grill, happening Saturday, August 24th at the Ball Tennis Center in Oklahoma. There will be divisions for all levels. Go to sportsSD.com and register your team while there's still room. Plus, there's a chance to win tickets to the iHeartRadio Music Festival. That's sportsSD.com and register your team while there's still room. I think Jim would be best on the show, which isn't saying a ton since me and Brent think we wouldn't be very good. Brent doesn't even know what the sport is.
No,
I've never played it.
I played tennis before. I know it's
So
kind
similar.
of like tennis.
Yeah, it's like tennis, and it got divisions for all levels, so we can give it a shot.
Just put us in the kids division.
Put us in. I love that.
Me, you, and Jim. We'll go wreck shop against a bunch of 8-year-olds.
Me, you, Jim, my 5-year-old
It'll be like Billy
son,
Madison when he
Jones.
played dodgeball with all the 4th graders.
Yes, let's
you
do it.
guys are so much in trouble.
Register at sportsSD.com for the first annual iHeartRadio Pickleball Tournament brought to you by Luna Grill, Saturday, August 24th. All right, the update is that there is an update, which is this game was supposed to start at 5:15, right? So Tarp went out of the field 17 minutes after first pitch. Padres, Pirates in Pittsburgh. Say that 3 times. And then they told us that after like an hour and 15, game's starting again at 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific. Well, we're watching, but
Grizzly
there's
Corso,
still
not so fast.
not
my
so
friend.
fast. AJ Cassavell 1 minute ago. Tarp's off, infield's ready. Padres are scattered about the field, but the warning track is still a puddle, so the delay continues. Now there's this as well. AJ saying that despite it all, it is Cease that's warming up on the mound getting ready. Remember, Dylan Cease, this game started at 3:40 Pacific. He threw in the bottom of the first inning at like 3:45. He hasn't been on the mound, let's say, since, I don't know, 3:50, 3:55. So 90 minutes between pitches for Dylan Cease, which is stretching it. He had to deal with this, remember, during his no-hitter. He warmed up. It rained. He never pitched in the game, and then he threw a no-hitter. So maybe it's going to be a good omen in the end, these 90 minutes. This could be more than 90 minutes between pitches for Dylan Cease. So I guess this would be my point. Earlier I said, man, this is a tough break for the Padres. Now you got to throw this bullpen game. But that likely isn't the case. But how does Cease rebound to having gotten up, pitched an inning, sat for 90-plus minutes, and then he gets back out there? Again, he's pitched as well as anyone in baseball over the last month. He's thrown a no-hitter in there. He's been virtually unhittable his last 5 starts. He's got his 1 ERA. He'll be back out there. Apparently, from what we're seeing and what's being reported from Pittsburgh, when this game does get back underway, which is hopefully mere moments away, we're waiting on this outfield warning track situation. You would think Major League Park can deal with heavy rain and thunderstorms, and they would have a system in place to get rid of that water in a very quick manner, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you think that. It doesn't always play out like that. So keep your fingers crossed is what I would say. Now, coming up at 5:30, just over 5 minutes from now, we are going to catch up with Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area. Brandon Aiyuk could be traded as soon as the next 24 hours. Could be. He's requested it. The Niners have granted it. Now, where would he land? What's the return from Aiyuk? Is there any hope he stays? And what impact does it have on the Niners potentially making a run again in the NFC or into, a Super Bowl again in 2024? We'll catch up with Jennifer Lee Chan. I would say this, Brent, real quick while we have a moment. You've been talking about it in the updates. Barkley, a couple of months ago, says I'm out. Then says, hey, Turner, pay me. You owe me 10 years, $210 million. And we're thinking, well, okay, I'll become a free agent. Amazon, NBC, whatever, ESPN. And then today saying, I will fulfill my contract to Turner, even though they've lost NBA rights. Now they have March Madness. They'll have Mount West football this year. They have other NHL. Thank you. Are you going to put Chuck on college football and NHL and college basketball?
Yeah.
That's the plan.
If they're paying him,
they're paying him.
That was the funniest thing when I was reading the article this morning to put in my update. It was just like, oh, he's going to stay on TNT, even if there is no NBA after this year on TNT. And they're like, we don't know what he's going to do, but he's still going to be there.
Right.
And, he has appeared on it's granted, I don't think it's as good, but I don't really follow hockey. They have an NHL version of Inside the NBA on TNT, and Barkley has been on it a bunch because he is a hockey fan. I don't know if he like understands it, but he is a hockey fan.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
So if I'm TNT, yeah, you go and you throw him on, some hockey stuff. Look at what the Olympics are doing with Snoop Dogg.
It's been really successful.
I could not give, two whats about half these Olympic sports.
But he makes it interesting.
Yes, but if you tell me, oh, Snoop Dogg's going to do commentary on fencing, okay, sign me up. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
So if you tell me, oh, okay, so Barkley's going to be on the panel for talking hockey, I'm going to check it out. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it for a whole season, but I'll definitely check it out.
It's a good point. I'm just fascinated by it all. I mean, Chuck, Inside the NBA, it's been a bit of a staple, right? And now what? I mean, he's still wildly entertaining, to your point. It's just going to be different without rights to the NBA and seeing him before, during, and after games. It's just,
I don't know. And we'll wait and see if, maybe TNT will try and pick something else up to, make up for the void of not having NBA. What? I have no clue, but they'll try and pick something up, you would think.
Jennifer Lee Chan on the latest with Brandon Aiyuk and the Niners. She'll join us next.
This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. The Padres and the Pirates have just left their rain delay, even though they have not started yet. The players are on the field. It seems like they're just waiting to work out that puddle issue over in the left field area. So we are waiting, but as of right now, the Padres and Pirates still in the delay in the bottom of the second. But it does look like Dylan Cease is going to come back out for the Friars. In other baseball news, the White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record with a 5-1 defeat to the A's. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 88 Orioles. The NL record is held by the 61 Phillies, who lost 23 straight games. The Patriots, Browns, and Steelers all have interest in San Francisco wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, according to the 49ers. The Patriots and the Browns are still currently in talks with San Francisco, while allegedly the Steelers' talks have slowed down a little bit since yesterday. And we just mentioned it, Charles Barkley won't retire after all. He is going to stay with TNT even after the season if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your car, home, motorcycle, commercial auto, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com. This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. The Padres and the Pirates have just left their rain delay, even though they have not started yet. The players are on the field. It seems like they're just waiting to work out that puddle issue over in the left field area. So we are waiting, but as of right now, the Padres and Pirates still in the delay in the bottom of the second. But it does look like Dylan Cease is going to come back out for the Friars. In other baseball news, the White Sox lost their 21st straight game last night, tying the American League record with a 5-1 defeat to the A's. Chicago is on the longest losing streak since the 88 Orioles. The NL record is held by the 61 Phillies, who lost 23 straight games. The Patriots, Browns, and Steelers all have interest in San Francisco wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, according to the 49ers. The Patriots and the Browns are still currently in talks with San Francisco, while allegedly the Steelers' talks have slowed down a little bit since yesterday. And we just mentioned it, Charles Barkley won't retire after all. He is going to stay with TNT even after the season if there is no NBA. The Hall of Fame player announced today that he will not retire next season, reversing his announcement that he made in June during the NBA Finals. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your car, home, motorcycle, commercial auto, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at progressive.com.
All right, we're keeping our eye on that rain delay situation. Padres, Pirates in Pittsburgh. It is great to have a few minutes with Jennifer Lee Cann. We've talked about the story over the last handful of days, certainly over the last 24 hours as well. Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area, the latest on Brandon Aiyuk. So, Jennifer, thanks for joining us in San Diego. I guess I'll just start there. What is the latest, and is the expectation that he's about to be on the move? And thanks for hopping on.
It's all in Brandon Aiyuk's court. There are trades on the table. I mean, they have actually set it up, and both sides have agreed to it. The Browns and the 49ers, or the Patriots and the 49ers. Now it's just up to Brandon Aiyuk to make a decision on what he'd like to do, whether he'd like to play in Cleveland or in New England or remain with 49ers. It really is all his decision now.
From the Niners' perspective, if they do move on, and like you said, it's in Aiyuk's hands, are they looking for a return that's going to be beneficial in 2024 as opposed to getting picks that would help them in 2025 and beyond? Is in without Aiyuk, don't they need something to supplement right now?
Absolutely. That's why the trades have not been really discussed lately with the Steelers or the Washington Commanders. They don't have players to give up for Brandon Aiyuk. So with the Cleveland Browns, it's Amari Cooper likely to go to the 49ers and then Brandon Aiyuk to go to the Cleveland Browns. So there is a potential player trade along with the picks. So that's why those two are more likely to happen than, the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Washington Commanders. Ooh, sorry there.
I know there's a lot going on. Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area, with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. From Aiyuk's perspective, like all things, I guess, in professional sports, this is about money and contract terms, right? Maximizing what he can get here if he is ultimately dealt. This is about contract terms and what's on the other side, right?
I think there's a little bit of that, but I think there's also what the potential is for each team. I mean, he's on a team that's been in the postseason the last 4 years. So for him to be willing to go to get paid with the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots that don't really have those playoff hopes or aspirations as much as the 49ers do, I think that's a big decision. I really honestly think that that's why he's kind of wavering on his decision, taking some time to really think about it, because I think there's still an option on the table where he could stay with the 49ers for maybe a little bit less pay and a little less security, but also set himself up for a long-term contract in 2025 and maybe go to the playoffs in the Super Bowl again this year.
So, like you said, we don't know the return. We don't know if this trade's even going to happen or not. If they move Aiyuk, most people would still be comfortable saying the Niners are the favorite in the NFC, right?
I would think so. I mean, especially if they do the trade with the Browns, getting Amari Cooper back, his stats were pretty similar to what Brandon Aiyuk had last year. But I mean, losing a guy who's young like that is going to be tough. But the 49ers in the draft in the offseason really kind of covered themselves. They drafted Ricky Pearsall. They drafted Jacob Cowing. They signed Jon Jennings to another year. So he's there through 2025. So they did do some things just to make sure that if Brandon Aiyuk did decide to go somewhere else, that they would have enough players on the roster.
What's the update here on, obviously the health of the Niners is so critically important. You know, they were relatively healthy last year. They had obviously some injuries occur in the Super Bowl that were impactful, but now we know there's a calf injury for Christian McCaffrey. He's battled injuries like most players do throughout their career. What's the extent of this injury? Could it be impactful at all to start the regular season or not?
Didn't seem like Kyle Shanahan thought it would be that impactful. He just is not going to play during the preseason, which he didn't last year either. I mean, like, he didn't take a snap in the preseason and had an offensive player of the year performance. So not looking, that it's going to impact him at all once the regular season starts. He was on the field doing individual drills on Sunday. He had like a compression sleeve on his left calf muscle. So I was wondering if he was going to, if he was having issues there. He didn't participate in team drills that day, and then now he's been shut down for the rest of the preseason.
Brock Purdy obviously still on a rookie deal. The payday is coming at some point. Would we expect that payday to be in line with what we've seen throughout the NFL this offseason as the dollars just keep going up? He's going to be paid like one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, or is that assuming some level of continued success here in 2024?
I mean, I think it is. It's all about continued success, which I think there's no reason why he wouldn't have that. But it really is a unique situation because rarely does a top starting quarterback, rarely is one the last pick in the draft. All these guys that are getting these $50 million a year contracts were, top 10 in their draft class. So it's a unique situation, but I'm sure that the 49ers see value in their quarterback. I mean, he's done such an amazing job. And looking at this year, it's his first real off season. He didn't have an off season, and as a rookie going in, because you're preparing for the combine and pro days, and then he didn't get any reps. I mean, barely any reps when he was a rookie. And then last year, coming back from the UCL surgery, he didn't get any reps until almost week 1.
That's
so,
right.
The fact that he's getting a full training camp this year, he's such a diligent worker. He's a film junkie, I think, which is why Kyle Shanahan loves talking ball with him. I think the only direction that he is going to go is up and get better.
Jennifer, before you go, Brandon Aiyuk, the situation, will we have some type of, this will be resolved when? In the next 24 hours, or could it take long? Do we know when this will be resolved? This week, presumably?
Oh, your guess is as good as mine. Kyle Shanahan said, but you always want to have it done earlier than later. It really is just up to Brandon Aiyuk to decide what he wants. I'm pretty sure, as what I'm hearing, is that there is still a deal on the table where the 49ers could either, incentivize his contract, his year for this year. He's set to make $14.1 million in 2024, which they know is underpaid. So I've heard that there's been deals on the table where he could make, upwards of $20 something million in 2024, setting up for a good year, and then they could franchise tag him in 2025 and then do the trade. So, it's security and where he wants to be, when he wants to get his payday. If he can hold off just a little bit, might be beneficial for him going into his, 5th season.
Fascinating development in the Bay Area as the Niners look to get back to a Super Bowl here in 2024 into 2025. Jennifer Lee Chan covers the Niners for NBC Sports Bay Area. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time. We know it's busy, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
All right, great stuff. Jennifer Lee Chan in the Bay Area. Interesting. I think we'll get resolution sooner rather than later. The other thing that's interesting is the 5:15 resumption of play for Padres Pirates has come and gone. It's been 25 minutes since the Pirates and Padres tweeted out the estimated time to resume play is 5:15 Pacific. Now, Brent, you don't follow it like I do on Twitter because you don't use Twitter. You should see some of the video out of PNC Park. The warning track
It's still
is
a puddle.
like a bit of an ocean.
I pulled the gym. I got to turn my mic on.
It's like a lake.
So it's still a small pond out in left field.
Jackson Merrill is doing like a diving motion into the warning track. Like that's how much water is on the warning track.
It is the Olympics.
Yeah. So, this thing has become a little bit of this is kind of an S show is what it is, because this is now I got 2 issues with how this is played out. One is you start the game 17 minutes later, it's pouring. Thunderstorms in Pittsburgh. Okay, you got it wrong. Then they say, you know what? 60, 70 minutes later, we can resume play. And Dylan Cease is going to bounce back. He threw an inning, but he's going to be available. Now, from when they were supposed to resume play, it's been 25 more minutes because for whatever reason, they don't have a handle on how to clear the warning track from the puddling situation. Like they got hosing going on, they got pipes, they're trying to deal with like the draining system, and for whatever reason, it's not working. So like this is a pretty big black eye right now on the Pirates grounds crew.
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna say. My issue is you're telling me that, while they were in that delay for, 30 minutes plus
hour,
that I'm just talking about just when it was raining. Because, according to Don Mudd, it stopped raining 40 minutes ago. So during that 30 minutes while it was raining, nobody on the grounds crew was like, ooh, you see what's going on over there in left field on the warning track? We should probably keep an eye on that. We're getting a puddle going on there. And they just left it. And now it seems like the puddle's too big. Because typically what does the ground crew do? They just throw more dirt on it until the water goes away, and then they just pound it down and wait for the dirt to dry. So apparently the puddle's too big that they can't just keep throwing dirt on it.
Well, 100%.
So how do you not? How does the head's groundkeeper just not go, ooh, we got to keep an eye on that over in left field? That could be an issue.
Well, here's the other thing. So Cease was on the mound for a 5:15 resume play, right? This from AJ Cassavell. Dylan Cease has returned to the dugout as the delay continues. Luis Campusano, meanwhile, headed to the bullpen. Seems like Cease's day is done. Because you can't pitch, cool off, and then try to ramp back up and cool off again. Like at this point, you're asking for trouble. Already trying to ramp back up after a 90-minute delay, some would argue is risky, especially with someone pitching as well as Dylan Cease. You can't ramp back up for a 5:15 start and then say, oh, just kidding. It's actually 5:45. This is Bush League. And someone's going to have some explaining to do from the Pirates grounds crew after tonight. I promise you that. We'll react on the other side, plus Brent's back page, plus we still have a giveaway for you. We'll do that before we get out of here. Should we do it right now, Brent? Let's do it right now. We've got 2 free tickets. Laney Wilson, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Should be a good show. August 23rd. If you want to see Laney Wilson, be the first caller to 877-767-4760. We have 2 free tickets. Laney Wilson, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 23rd, 877-767-4760. Call right now. That's next. thought when we started the show today, I never thought my wildest dreams we spent 3 hours talking about the Pirates ground crew, and that's what we've done. I mean, baseball doesn't work like this. The Pirates are forfeiting nothing. But if you should ever be forced to forfeit a game because of unplayable conditions, tonight this would be night number one to consider. They start a game they shouldn't have started. 17 minutes in, it starts pouring. It rains for 30 minutes, and now they can't get the rain off the field for an hour. The Padres have burned through Dylan Cease, who threw an inning tonight. Their best pitcher threw an inning tonight. Now, the world will keep spinning. They're playing good baseball. They could win this game 10-0. I don't even know if this game's going to resume. If it doesn't, again, that's on their grounds crew. The tarp could have come off the field. It came off the field an hour ago. They were supposed to start this game 33 minutes ago. It's 8:48 Eastern. It's not raining, and they're working on the warning track, which is unplayable. Who's that on? That's not on the Padres.
No, that's totally on the grounds crew. It's one thing if, say, the rain didn't let up, and there's nothing you can do about the weather. That's beyond your control.
Absolutely. If it rains, it rains.
But something like this, it's like I said, this is on the grounds crew. This is, your job is on, if it rains, you have to take care of the field.
This is why you
have to pay attention. To me, him not noticing the giant freaking lake out in left field is the same equivalent as if, like, when puddles start to form on the pitcher's mound, it'd be like, oh, you don't see that giant puddle forming on the pitcher's mound. You think maybe we should do something about that. Yeah, this is totally on Pittsburgh's ground crew.
This is really okay. If this game never started and this calamity was playing out, I'd be like, at least they didn't use Cease.
Yeah, because we're not out nothing.
I'd be like, well, this is a joke. They had 25,000 people there and they didn't play because their field's a mess. Well, whatever. But no team used any players, and we'll all do it again tomorrow with a doubleheader. But to have this play out and to lose Dylan Cease, and I don't know when he'll bounce back. I mean, they'll probably pitch him game 1 in Miami 3 days from now, would be my guess. But what does this mean for Cease? What does this mean for the rotation? To Brent's point earlier, what does it mean for Paul Skeens? And does this now mean that the Padres will see Skeens when these two teams face off against each other at Petco coming up next week? We'll keep an eye on it. But right now, let's get to this.
John, you like the Foo Fighters?
I do like the Foo Fighters a lot. Yes.
Well, the Foo Fighters are going to be playing Petco Park tomorrow night.
Yes, I'm aware.
The 15-time Grammy Award-winning band will be playing in America's Finest City tomorrow as part of their Everything or Nothing concert tour. It is actually they're out touring to promote their first album since the death of their longtime drummer Taylor Hawkins, who died in 2022.
Yep.
So they're out promoting the new album. So that is tomorrow night down at Petco Park. So if you're going to be in the downtown area, expect heavy traffic downtown around Petco for the Foo Fighters concert. I like the Foo Fighters. I don't like them as much as I liked them when they first came out. I don't know why. I like them a lot more when they first came out, when it was like, oh, hey, it's the rest of the guys from Nirvana made a different band. But yeah, I like the Foo Fighters. So we got that going on tomorrow at Petco Park.
Well, look at it this way. The grounds crew shouldn't play a role in that one tomorrow in San Diego, where it's going to be not raining, which is good for anyone going down to Petco Park tomorrow night.
Yeah, you don't want to sit in the rain for a concert.
You don't.
And Disney Plus is doing yet another price hike.
What is it right now?
Right now, if you do standalone, which is only Disney Plus, and you don't want the commercials, it's like $14.99. But
$14.99?
Yes, and for no commercials.
I thought it was like $6.
Well, see, originally it was. That's how many price increases they've done since
in like
it
2
started.
or 3 years.
Well, it's been more than that.
Okay, 5 years maybe.
It's been a little longer than that. But yeah.
So what are they going to now?
It's getting jacked up by another $1.
To $15.99 commercial free.
Yes.
What do I get? I mean, is there any like content, any sports content in there?
No,
any
it's
ESPNs?
just Disney Plus.
Oh my gosh.
They are not changing the price to the bundle. So if you have the Hulu, Disney Plus,
ESPN bundle?
ESPN Ocho
What
bundle
is it?
thing.
How much is that roughly?
They said if you have all of them with like HBO Max, I think it's $30. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Until they jack the price up on
So that goes
too.
to 35.
Yeah. So once again, I'm not really happy about that.
Is it a must-have? I mean,
for me, it is.
Yeah, because of some of the shows.
Well, because if I want to watch MCU stuff and Star Wars stuff, that's the only place you're going to be able to get it.
I mean, that seems a little like. Let's be honest here. Again, if you're giving me ESPN sports properties in there, which they're not, like that's part of that additional bundle. Okay, I get it. If you're giving me sports in there, I get it. But $15.99, that's a big number. That's a big number.
Yeah, they're starting to get up into Netflix and Amazon range right there. And then finally, we're gonna end on a fun Olympic story, John. Okay. Are you for or against pineapple on pizza, John?
I'm for.
Okay, I am also for it. People that fruit don't belong on pizza. Well, tomatoes are a fruit, so those are also on pizza. Well, John, the Hong Kong won a fencing gold over Italy, and the Italian Olympic Committee submitted an official complaint claiming that the judges, who happen to be from Taiwan and South Korea, were biased because of their geographical closeness to Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
In response, and this is great, Pizza Hut Hong Kong is offering free pineapple on pizza until 6 p.m. tomorrow. That's their kind of dig at the Italian team for pizzas and Italians, and they're part of the group that is adamant that pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. So
because the Italians are saying that this event essentially was fixed. There was a bias here because of where the judges are from. Because in the Olympics, you're going to have judges from all over the world. I'm sure it's happening all the time. You're going to have European judges, North American, South American, Asian, African judges. That's part of it. You sign up for these events, you got to sign up for it. Because you understand there's a level of subjectivity in there. It's the Olympics. So you can't cry over spilled milk. You can't be a sore loser. It's the Olympics.
The only way they could control them better was like, I love spaghetti, and put like a can of Chef or something. Like, God, I wish you guys were as good as the Olive Garden.
If this game wraps up tonight, in fact, I'm going to talk about tonight regardless. 9:30 with the wrap-up show on YouTube. Search for the Padres wrap-up show. What a calamity playing out in Pittsburgh this afternoon and evening. They're the second inning of a game that had like 30 minutes of rain. They can't get the field playable because of the warning track. So updates for tonight on YouTube at 9:30. If you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. If you're listening to the podcast, please leave a review. We're on social. Find us at Jon Jim, JONANDJIM, or Swiss Jim. And Brent, I'm John. Keep it here. It's San Diego Sports 760. We'll see you tomorrow.